Good morning. I'm Jason Kitty Cuevas, and this is my critic analysis about gender and society. So, in the introduction, the purpose is to reflect on the key themes of the gender society course. So, this means the assignment or discussion is intended to look back and analyze the main ideas and topics covered in the course, and you're expected to think critically about what you've learned, connect concepts to real life examples, then consider how your understanding of gender society has evolved. So, in focus, inequality, gender constructs, institutional systems. So, first is the institutional systems, which is the inequality, refers to the unequal treatment and opportunities people face based on gender. This could be include pay gaps, discrimination in the workplace, unequal access to education or healthcare. Then gender-based violence. So gender constructs. These are usually created ideas about what it means to be male or female or non-binary. It explores how society defines masculinity and femininity. Expectations placed on individuals based on gender, how these constructs vary across cultures and time. Then the institutional systems are in structures like government, education, religion, and the legal system and the media that shape and reinforce gender rules and inequalities. Focus areas might like how laws affect gender rights, representation of gender in leadership roles, and how schools or media perpetuate the stereotypes. So, the goal is propose pathways to gender equity. The final goal is to suggest solutions or ideas that could help build more gender equitable society. For example, policy changes. So, anti-discrimination laws, educational reforms, media representation improvements, community-based support for marginalized genders. Next is gender roles and socializations. First is the early internalization of gender norms. So, from a young age, children absorb ideas about what is appropriate for their gender. Then these ideas become part of how they see themselves on others. In influences media, family, education, and religion. So in first media, in TV shows, movies, and advertisement often reinforce stereotypes. For example, girls as nurturing and boys as strong. For family, parents and relatives might unknowingly encourage gendered behaviors. For example, toys or chores based on their gender. For education, is schools can shape gender rules through dress codes, classroom roles, and how subjects are presented. And last is the religion. Religious teachings and rules might also influence about masculinity and femininity. So the result is the limitation of individual potential is when children will feel pressure to act a certain way because of their gender. It can restrict personal choices, limit career aspirations or hobbies, affect confidence and self-expressions. Stereotypes and gender norms. So, stereotypes and gender norms these are oversimplified ideas about what men and women should be like. So, for example, men are strong and unemotional. Women and caring. Are caring and passive. So, the impact is ang impact is reinforces inequality. These narrow rules limit opportunities and justify unequal treatment areas like work, education, healthcare, and media representation. So the critical insight is the intersectionality reveals varied experiences. So it means like understanding how multiple identities like For example, race, class, sexuality, and ability interact with gender. So not all women or women experience gender the same way. So a black woman, for example, a black woman may face a different challenges than a white woman or a black man. So next is patriarchy and power structures. So in patriarchy, privileges cisgender and heterosexual men. So this means is refers to a social system that favors cisgender heterosexual men, often at the expense of women, LGBTQ plus individuals, and other marginalized groups. So it shapes laws, institutions, and everyday interactions. And the effects is gender-based violence. So includes domestic abuse, sexual harassment, and assault. So often rooted in the belief that men should dominate women. So next is workplace discrimination. Women and LGBTQ plus individuals may face unequal pay, fewer leadership opportunities, harassment and bias, structural inequality, deep built-in disadvantage within legal system, education, healthcare, and political representation. Next is the intersectionality and LGBTQIA plus inclusion. So in Crenshaw 1991, overlapping identities is coined by Kimberly Crenshaw. Intersectionality explains how people experience discrimination differently depending on multiple overlapping identities. For example, gender, race, sexuality, class, and disability. For example, a queer woman of color may face racism, sexism, and homophobia all at once, not separately. Then the unique disadvantage faced by marginalized groups. So systems of power often ignore or erase the experiences of those who don't fit into one category. This leads to increased risk of violence, poorer healthcare access, social invisibility, or exclusion from policies. Need for inclusion beyond binary frameworks. So, traditional gender systems, or male or female, include non-binary, trans, and queer identities. True inclusion requires recognizing all gender identities, challenging binary thinking, and creating policies and spaces that affirm diverse experiences. So, course, critique, and insights. First, connection between theory and lived experiences. So, the course helps bridge academic concepts like patriarchy, gender norms, and intersectionality with real-world experiences. For example, understanding how gender rules affect daily choices, safety, and opportunities. Encourage students to see their own lives and that world around them through a more critical, informed lens. So the stereotypes challenge through intersectional lens. So by using intersectionality, students learn to go beyond surface level gender stereotypes. It reveals how assumptions about gender are shaped by other identities. Promotes more inclusive and accurate understanding of people's experiences. The importance of systemic understanding of violence. So the course emphasized that gender-based violence isn't just about individual actions. It's rooted in systems of power and inequality. Example, patriarchy and colonialism. This perspective shifts the focus of blaming individuals to changing structures, laws, institutions, culture that allow violence to persist. Im- So next is the empowerment social change. I'm done with that now. Empowerment means giving individuals and communities the tools, voice, and agency to fight oppression and create change. So grassroots activism, hashtag #MeToo, menstrual equity. So expose the hashtag #MeToo is expose widespread sexual harassment and abuse, especially in workplace and institution. The menstrual equity is advocates for access to menstrual products, breaking taboos, and ending period poverty. These efforts raise awareness and push society to comfort uncomfortable truths. So the institutional change needed. So first, parental leave. So paid gender neutral leave policies support all caregivers and challenge gendered expectation of parenting. So next is gender quotas. Policies that ensure more representation of women and marginalized gender in leadership and, for example, politics, corporate boards. Last is comprehensive sex education. Teaches consent, gender identity, and healthcare relationships, not just reproduction, helping reduce stigma and prevent violence. Next is the conclusion and reflections. Gender as complex power structure. First, gender is not about identity or rules. It's a system of power that shapes who has access, resources, safety, respect, and authority. It intersects with race, class, sexuality, and more, making the struggle for equality deeply layered and structural. So, call to action to dismantle gender-based injustice, we must act on multiple fronts. Gender-sensitive laws, policies must recognize and address the different needs and realities of all genders. Example, laws protecting against gender-based violence, ensuring equal pay, and affirming trans rights. Then, inclusive leadership. Leadership in government, business, and communities must reflect diverse gender identities and lived experiences to ensure fair decision making. Education reform. Curriculums must challenge stereotypes and teach about gender identity and intersectionality from an early age, empowering future generation with awareness and empathy. And the goal is equity in experience, not just opportunity. So, true gender justice isn't just about offering equal chances, but ensuring fair outcomes where everyone's, regardless of gender, can live with dignity, safety, and fulfillment. It's about reshaping systems that individual potential is no longer limited by gender expectations. And that's all. Thank you.